I came, I saw, I conquered. What better example of this than the master himself, the doyen of Indian ophthalmology? The fire that burns in his heart ignites 1,000 more souls. The passion to achieve inspires 1,000 more minds. The brilliance of his personality illuminates 1,000 more lives. Meet the legend, who with the courage of his conviction gave wings to his dreams and achieved what thousands of others could only dream of.
Such Devisms, success mantras from the master. Don't wait for an opportunity. Create it. Dream big, work hard, and make it happen. Don't be afraid to give up the good for the great. In order to succeed, your desire for success should be greater than your fear of failure.
You need to be confident of what you are doing as an ophthalmologist, and this confidence cannot be hollow. It comes on solid foundations. You need to be rock solid in what you are doing.
The master at work. And work becomes a masterpiece. Work hard in silence and let success make the noise. Big success does not come without big challenges. He didn't limit his challenges, he challenged his limits. When passion, purpose, and profession come together, a dream takes form. The best view comes after the hardest climb. A leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. Extraordinary things happen to extraordinary people.
Respected seniors, colleagues, and my dear friends, welcome to the program Eye to Eye, where we take you through the incredible journey of the legends. He exudes a demeanor of supreme confidence, leaving one awestruck. A visionary leader, an exemplary surgeon, the man with the Midas touch. He has the charisma of a maestro, the aura of an icon, and the charm of a thorough gentleman. And above all, he's a very compassionate and a caring human being. Ladies and gentlemen, extremely honored, privileged, and fortunate to have with us today the one and only Professor Dr. Mahipal Singh Sachdev, sir, the Chairman and Medical Director of the Centre for Sight Group of Eye Hospitals and a dynamic President of the All India Ophthalmological Society. A very warm welcome to you, sir, and thank you so much for accepting my invitation to the program Eye to Eye. Professor Dr. Mahipal sir is a very eminent and well-known personality. But before we begin our conversation, I'd like to present a few highlights of his professional achievements. Professor Dr. Mahipal Sachdev, Chairman and Medical Director of Centre for Sight, is a pioneer in corneal, refractive and cataract surgery worldwide. Born in 1958 to a gynecologist mother and a father who was a career professional in the government, Dr. Sachdev passed out of Modern School, New Delhi with academic distinctions. He pursued his medical education at the graduate and postgraduate level at the prestigious All India Institute of Medical Sciences, where he was awarded the Best Resident Award and also topped his batch in the MD exams in 1984. Dr. Mahipal continued in his alma mater AIIMS as a faculty member and as an associate professor till the year 1996. In the year 1989, on a sabbatical from AIIMS and to master the latest in cornea and phacoemulsification, he took up a fellowship at Georgetown University, Washington, D.C., USA for a year and then returned to AIIMS. It was here that he met Professor Dwight Kavanagh, a visionary who inspired Dr. Mahipal. In 1996, Dr. Mahipal Sachdev stepped out of AIIMS and started a modest private clinic and concurrently joined Apollo Hospital, where he was ably mentored by Dr. Pratap C. Reddy. With a dream of creating a world-class super specialty eye care center and with the able support of his better half Dr. Alka Sachdev Madam, Dr. Mahipal sir set up Centre for Sight, which is today one of the leading chain of eye care centers in the country. Centre for Sight has various accolades to its credit, including the Best Single Specialty Times Health Award,
Delhi NCR in 2017. Dr. Mahipal sir also won the Lifetime Achievement Award, the prestigious Frost & Sullivan Award as an eye care provider company of the year in 2010 and 2014. Being a true visionary and leader, Dr. Mahipal sir has pioneered several procedures including phacoemulsification, LASIK, phakic IOLs, femto-LASIK and femto-cataract surgery. He has been extremely active in imparting surgical training and education. He has conducted several live surgery demonstrations in the remotest locations of India to teach and popularize various surgical techniques. A powerful orator, he has conducted instruction courses and presented scientific papers, lectures, and orations in more than 500 state, national, and international conferences. With over 100 published articles in various journals to his credit, he has also been the editor and on the editorial board of many reputed journals. He has authored over 10 books and manuals on cataract and refractive surgery, including the first book on phacoemulsification by an Indian ophthalmologist published in 1996. Dr. Mahipal Sachdev has received numerous awards and distinctions in India and abroad for his contribution to ophthalmology. He is the proud recipient of the highly prestigious Padma Shri Award conferred by the President of India in 2007, the Rashtriya Gaurav Award from the Institute for Environment, Yoga and Social Security in 2009. He has been recognized globally with numerous fellowships and scholarships and has won innumerable medals, trophies and awards. As the President of the All India Ophthalmological Society since February 2020, he has stood by the medical fraternity and has been the guiding force for the 23,000 ophthalmologists all over the country, taking them through tough COVID times in all possible ways. He is the Secretary and Chairman Scientific Committee of the Intraocular Implant and Refractive Society, the Managing Editor of the Indian Journal of Ophthalmology, among others. With his dedication and commitment, Dr. Mahipal Sachdev has ensured that the Indian flag remains flying high in the domain of eye care, in line with his own mission statement, "Every eye deserves the best." We bow to you, sir.
That was truly outstanding, sir. Please accept my humble pranams to you. And that reminds me of a sher of Shair Bashir Badri ji, which says, जिस दिन से चला हूँ मंजिल पे नजर है, जिस दिन से चला हूँ मंजिल पे नजर है, आंखों ने कभी मील का पत्थर नहीं देखा. So you have always been so focused and ambitious. So how were you as a schoolboy? Do you have any special memories?
Well, in the first instance, before I reply to your question, I'll wish to thank you. It's a pleasure and an honor being here. When one looks at the people whom you have put in this category, starting from Dr. K.K. Mehta, Dr. G.N. Rao, Dr. Lahane, Dr. Harminder Dua, I don't think I fit into this slot at all. But anyway, I think it's a great pleasure. And now coming to your question, well, I have been schooled in modern school, which has been one of the prestigious schools in India, I would say, at least in Delhi, celebrating its centenary just now. But all that I would wish to say is that the schooling played a very important role in my life because it helped shape me as a complete individual, not just in studies, but also in extracurricular activities, debating, whether it be sports, whether it be literature, whether it be music, etc. The important thing was that there was a lot of emphasis by the principal of the school to shape up the personality of an individual and also to go out and do things more than what was required. Modern school, I would say, makes a lot of bonds. We have a very strong modern school old tradition, and I have cherished those memories of having spent 13 years in modern school, where I think one gets from a boy to a young man and then goes on into life.
And that's why I think your school also has been so proud of you. Your name is still inscribed on the wall of fame there. So that's a great feeling, definitely.
And that's a proud moment.
Proud moment, sir. So there are some of your school friends who remember some memories of you very fondly and they'd like to share it. Just a moment.
I had the unique distinction of having grown up in my school days. We studied together in kindergarten, in modern school, and thereafter all the way till pre-medical in Hindu College, Delhi University. A great acumen in business, politics and sports.
Very few people know that he is from my school, that is the modern school. And as you know, that the Battle of Trafalgar was not won on the high seas, but it was won on the playgrounds of Eton and Harrow. And that is where Mahipal learned his first tricks of the trade. Mahipal is a great clinician. He has got something like magic in his hands. And what more can be said than for the fact that I myself underwent surgery about 3 weeks back under his able hands. And I can safely say that Mahipal is to ophthalmology was Ravi Shankar was to the sitar. Thank you very much.
That's a great analogy there.
Thanks, Dr. Lal and Manu. Dr. Lal happens to be on our board of directors.
Great association, a very long association, I must say. So your brilliant career began in AIIMS. Did you always want to take up medicine, or did your mom's medical background actually influence your decision?
I think both are true. I did want to become a doctor right from the beginning because there was an environment of medicine in our home. My mother was a doctor, gynecologist and obstetrician, head of department in Satyajanga Hospital. And my brother was pursuing his MBBS from the prestigious All India Institute of Medical Sciences. And my father wanted me to become a doctor. So I think I had the memories of my mother going out at night to do some deliveries or to do some difficult case and then coming back very satisfied. And then the kind of respect that she had from her patients was really great. So I think medicine was my calling. Even though after higher secondary, one didn't know we had to do our first year pre-medical. So I did apply for engineering for IIT. And because my higher secondary went well, I didn't even study for the IIT exam. And I really don't know, but I
believe you got into IIT.
Yeah, the night before the exam, my friend Majaz called me and he said, do you think we should go and give the exam? I said, we haven't studied. So my brother was sitting next to me. He said, a form bhara hai to de do exam. What is the problem? So we went merrily to Sarojini Nagar, gave the exam. And lo and behold, I was selected in IIT, went up to getting my medical exam done. But then I knew that medicine was my calling and joined Hindu College for pre-medical.
That was so brilliant, Sarvan. Again of ophthalmology that you joined medicine. So some of your friends in school, in college, remember you and they want to share some memories. Just a moment.
His life, I feel, is driven by passion and perfectionism, which is translated into his friends, family, his work, and his entrepreneurship. That my mother wanted me to become a doctor. I didn't want to be a doctor. I wanted to be a mathematician. But I took the exam on her wishes. I was happily emerging from Sholay, and I got a call from Mahipal saying, you are in, buddy, so suck it up and become a doctor. The second episode was when my father would see Mahipal and me, and he would look at Mahipal's two-piece suit and my scruffy jeans and shirts. He would cringe and say, why can't you be more like Mahipal? A doctor should instill confidence in the patient.
Mahipal is a very dear friend. He, in spite of having attained the commanding heights in his professional journey, hasn't changed a bit in respect of his attitudes towards his friends and classmates. Whenever I meet him now, it appears as if the 44 years since we first met and spent some good time in AIIMS disappear into thin air. playing cricket in the quadrangle of Ames hostel, breaking a few window glasses, going to Chanakya Cinema on his scooter to watch late night movies, and that too in the middle of MBBS exams, are some of the good old memories which resurface when I meet him even today. This is a lifelong friendship which I will cherish forever.
Yeah.
That was truly nostalgic. You were really fun-loving, and long live your friendship. Do you have to
Well,
say
all that
anything
I
to
wish to say is that it's a dream for everybody to get into AIMS, and I think I was extremely lucky to be the first brother combination. My brother was in AIMS, and I had a constant pressure on myself and that I should also be in AIMS, and was a dream fulfilled. But what is very, very important is that we had only 50 students per batch in All India Institute of Medical Sciences, out of which 5 of them were foreigners, but we made good friends with them. So actually our batch is very, very closely knit, and Rajesh is one of the 2 people who went into the administrative services. Atul Khare became an IFS, and Rajesh an IAS officer. But AIMS, I would say, is a place which fills me up with nostalgia even today. Also because of the friends, but also because of the technical know-how, the expertise, and above all the teachers that we had. They were absolutely, I would say, rock solid in what they knew, and they were in every department. There were people who were the last word in that particular field of their specialization. So AIMS actually allows you to see lots and lots of patients, to work on different technologies, the latest what is there, gives you a lot of free hand, and if you want to work, you can really learn a lot. And I think solid grounding, solid learning, solid friendship, solid atmosphere, I think everything was just perfect, and it's because of this only that AIMS continues in all rankings to be the best medical college in India today.
You're truly blessed to be a part of it. Everybody's dream, I think, whoever joins medicine. And sir, how did you decide to take up ophthalmology?
Well, again, I think it was by choice, like medicine was by choice. So during the final year, and also during the internship, etc., I was sure that I wanted to be a surgeon. Often at my home, my mother and father would say that, well, I have long fingers, and they said that's going to be that's a surgeon's hand. So in any case, the thrill of operating and delivering something as a surgeon was definitely there. I didn't quite wish to do general surgery, because I thought that that would be something incomplete, because I wanted to be a master of where I am. So then one would require to possibly do an MCH and do cardiac surgery or neurosurgery or GI surgery, etc. So I decided that having a niche field would be my calling, and therefore I was debating between ophthalmology and ENT. And in the end, I think one of the things that motivated to me to put ophthalmology as my first choice was that I even did a cataract surgery in my internship in Ballabgarh.
Oh, wow. Unimaginable.
Nice at that particular time. So I think I had developed an interest in ophthalmology. Nobody in my family was an ophthalmologist, but I did put ophthalmology as my first choice and ENT as my second choice. And I got ophthalmology, and there the journey of ophthalmology began in 1982 January, when I joined my MD ophthalmology at RP Center AIMS.
And you were a very sincere and hardworking student. One of your professors at AIMS remembers you fondly. Just a moment, I'd like you to hear it.
Though my old memories are fading, but I remember Mahipal because he was a very bright, intelligent, hardworking student, taking interest in sports, social activities of the RP Center, and I selected him on my faculty because of his credentials, his knowledge, and his attitude. I also recommended him for a senior fellowship in United States University near Washington. During his stint in the RP Center, he showed great interest in research and teaching. Later, he decided to come into the private field and excelled his potential as an entrepreneur. He established a very big institution and attained a leadership role in the Indian ophthalmology, recognized.
Thank you so much, Professor Dr. Madan Mohan sir.
I think Professor Madan Mohan was somebody who brought microsurgery into ophthalmology at RP Center. And I still remember I was in the second semester or third semester, I really don't, but I was with him. And he was to do a preparatory trab on a patient for who were to undergo PK subsequently. And I was just standing next to him and assisting. And he just said, without saying anything, he just made me sit on the stool. And all of a sudden, that was the kind of confidence I think that he exuded in me, that I did a trab at that particular time. I think the finesse as a surgeon that Professor Madan Mohan had, it was really fun watching him. And again, he had lots and lots of patients coming from all over India. And thank you, sir. He was my thesis guide too. And I think I owe a lot to him for where I am today. And there were again a plethora of great teachers there: Professor Sood, Professor Khosla, Dr. Dayal, Dr. Prem Prakash. You name it, you had them. They were people where you developed super specialization in ophthalmology, and it was really fun. And I think I lived life to the fullest at RP Center, learning, having fun, sports, being ORA secretary. Everything you can think of, going to camps. We did a lot of surgeries in camps, etc. So I think again, solid foundations, grounding, skill acquisition, actually the confidence that you got in yourself and having known your subject was so phenomenal in AIIMS and RP Center that if I have to step back and look at what is the one thing that I am proud of and what has made me today is my association and my learnings in AIIMS and RP Center.
Do you still miss it, sir?
Well, I just took a decision that I need to do something which is more than becoming a faculty. I couldn't have asked for anything more. I hadn't even completed my senior residency when I became a faculty. There were 5 of us who joined as a faculty, and I was possibly the youngest of them. I could have, with age, become the chief of RP Center. But then I thought that I need to do something else. And one fine day, actually, the thoughts were going on, and then I said, okay, let's go for it, and let's.
Sir, I'd like to interrupt you for a moment here. So since you've spent almost around 2 decades at AIIMS, I'd like you to hear what some of your colleagues from AIIMS would like to say about you. Just a moment, sir.
Dr. Mahipal Sachdev is a phenomenon whom I've known since my early days in modern school, Bharat Road, New Delhi, but we really got to know each other very well when we joined the MD ophthalmology at RP Center in AIIMS, New Delhi in the early 80s. Towards the late 80s, we became senior residents, and then the same day, me and Mahipal, along with 3 others, joined as assistant professors at RP Center in New Delhi, and our career as faculty members started. Mahipal was very keen on his pursuit for cornea and cataract and excelled in that. He has been always a very intelligent and dynamic person, and if he feels there's something which is required, he always makes sure that he does all the work for it so that it is achieved. And that is his very positive quality which he has.
I've known Mahipal since we were both young pups, about 16 years old to be precise. We were at Hindu College, Delhi University for pre-medical studies, and then at AIIMS for our MBBS. If I could pick 2 words to describe Mahipal, those would be passion and persistence. There's nothing he believes he cannot accomplish once he puts his mind to it. I was very impressed by the ultra-modern eye care facility that he had built. Over the years, he has continued to climb to even greater heights of success, and I have no doubt his best is yet to come.
So well said, sir. Your best is yet to come.
Kapil is a great guy. we call him KD, and we were together in MBBS and pre-medical, and he was always the studious kind, and we used to do almost everything, and we spent a lot of time, and actually we used to play bridge together. The foursome of us who used to play bridge together, Kapil, myself, Raghuvansh, and PK. They're great guys, and he's done so well in hematology oncology. And Atul, Professor Atul, he's a modernite. I know him from modern school, and I think another thing which maybe he didn't say, both of us got Padam Shri on the same day together.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So there were three of us, I think, Atul, Professor Ram Perumal Swami, and myself, the three.
Oh, nice.
We got. I think Atul had a great passion for retina, and I was in anterior segment, and we gelled well together.
Sir, we were talking about AIIMS, and you surprised the world when you left a secure and a prestigious post at RP Center AIIMS to start something on your own. And in your own words, that was a calculated risk. So what were your thoughts and feelings at that point of time?
Well, I think I surprised myself. I surprised my family. I surprised everybody. I know some people gesticulated or thought that he must be having a tough time with the director, this, that, and the other, and he was unhappy and things like that, whatever it was. But I think I wanted to go on, in the words of, I would say, Ralph Emerson, do not follow where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail behind you. So I think my calling was to create something, to create an institution, because being in the government job or in an autonomous institution like AIIMS, you would go up step by step and possibly become the director. But you know that's a limited canvas in which you can do things. If you have to create something, you really have to step out, and there's an age when you need to step out. And I think this was going on in my mind right from the time I had gone to Georgetown University, Washington, DC for my. I was with Professor Dwight Kavanagh, and he was aspiring. We were working on the confocal microscope at that point, the prototype of confocal microscopy, and we worked on micrography at that particular time, which is now everyone's clinic has a micrography, etc. At that particular time, his aspirations were for a Nobel. And that's what actually fired me, that why can't we dream and think big? And that is what I said, that, okay, if I have a clinical acumen and if I have a skill set, at that particular time, I got into phacoemulsification, where there were very few exponents of phacoemulsification. And I thought that if there is an opportunity that is knocking at the door, and Indraprastha Apollo Hospital was coming at that particular time, why should I not step into the domain of private practice and then slowly build and create an institution at par with anything that is of international standards? So I think this desire and this fire in my belly to do something extra, to walk that extra mile, took me out of my comfort zone. And the comfort zone of AIIMS is very, very difficult to do. There are two comfort zones that I have left in my life. One comfort zone is the comfort zone that I left of All India Institute of Medical Sciences. And the second was the comfort zone of Indraprastha Apollo Hospital. I joined Indraprastha Apollo Hospital on 15th of March, the year 1996, and end of June or first week of July, I did Dr. Pratap Reddy's cataract. And mind you, when I was operating, the entire Indraprastha Apollo Hospital top management was right outside the OT and things like that. And how it could have made or marred your kind of career. He had intrinsic faith in me, and I did that. And I was, again, his blue-eyed boy, and I could get almost anything done. I had operated almost all the top honchos of Indraprastha Apollo subsequently after Dr. Pratap Reddy's this thing. But then again, that was not my calling. That was a comfort zone again, that patients were being drawn because of Indraprastha Apollo and myself or whatever it is. But I had the dream to create Center for Sight as an institution. And I left Indraprastha Apollo in my heydays. And that was again moving out of my comfort zone. So there is an itch in me which happens, and where I tend to go out of my comfort zone.
Needs a lot of courage, sir. Great vision.
think God gives you courage, and you need to be solid in what you're thinking and what you're doing.
True, sir. So let's hear what one of your colleagues has to say about this. Just a moment, sir.
He has come from a very, very humble background. Few people would know that half his life he has lived in a house which is small, a government flat with just one room over there, with a wonderful hubby who shared, and I think that is a gift for him too, Dr. Alka. It's such a supportive family. But I think everybody was on jitters when he wanted to fulfill his dream of making this center, because he wanted the best and people were really scared coming from such simple background with no backup for money or anything like that. But that is what he is. He loves to raise the bar. What I have seen as a faculty member in AIIMS, very few people had the guts to go and fight for the raise of faculty pays, which he did. So I asked him, Bhai Mahipal, how can you charge so much? And then he explained to me, Harsh, if Dr. Mahipal Sachdev does not charge 1 lakh for a cataract, and if he charges 20,000, what will a normal ophthalmologist do? And that is how he has raised the bar for everybody.
It's phenomenal, sir.
Yeah, Harsh is again a modernite, and he was the first guy to leave AIIMS on my calling, on my assurances as a faculty, and joined me. I think he's a strong pillar of Center for Sight today, master in glaucoma, and a great human being.
Sir, we were talking about the year 1996 and you had your hands full. Like you said, you left RP Center, you started on your own, you joined Apollo. You were, I think, the chairman scientific committee of AIOS also at that time. You wrote the first book on phacoemulsification. My God, so many things at one time. How did you manage to do all this at one point of time?
Well, I think maybe you missed out another thing. I also became the organizing secretary for the AIOS conference, which was to be held in February 1997. And I didn't have a support system at that particular time. If today I had these many things to do, it wouldn't bother me to that extent, because I have lots and lots of people who are working at Center for Sight and
right.
be able to do. Yes, I won the election in February 1996. I was just, I had yet not to reach 38 years of age. So I think that's the dynamo in you. I think at a young age, that if you stretch yourself, you surprise yourself. If you stretch yourself to say that this has to be done, you will find time to do that. And I think you have to do that to perfection and do it very diligently. I think there is no substitute to hard work, and we did hard work. And also you needed to get ideas, because the chairman scientific committee, you needed to change the face of how the scientific sessions were being done in AIOS. So I think passion, and as Kapil told, passion and perseverance, I think those are the important things, and taking things to a logical end to perfection. I think that's been the thing. I think determination is something which is one of the things that I am proud.
Lots of learnings for us, and that's really motivating. Sir, one more thing, like you started as a small clinic. And from a small clinic to Center for Sight, which is today 43 centers across 24 cities in the country, 140 plus doctors, and as the head of one of the largest and one of the most successful chain of eye care centers in the country today, you've come a really long way. How does it feel today?
I think at times it gives me a sense of great relief and great contentment, but then the discontent in me comes back again, that I need to take it still higher.
That fire is still burning.
Yes, I think it is still burning, but yes, I think God has been kind. We have been able to establish landmark centers across various parts of India. We have been able to establish the quality of the skill set of the surgeons who are with the Center for Sight. I'm really, really very proud of all the ophthalmologists who are working with the Center for Sight. I think that has been one of the key things where possibly they've been handpicked There have been great guys, local leaders, leaders at national level, international level. And I think also there was a financial sense that money is required to make institutions and to make them grow. And I think there again it was maybe a thought process at that particular time. I didn't even hire an investment banker, and I took the first private equity investment from Matrix Partners. So I think it was a combination of everything: the skill set, technology, the hunger for technology was also there, and really been a satisfying I would say now close to 25 years for the Center for Sight to grow from an infant, a toddler, I would say, then into a child, and then into a strapling young man, I would say, out there to provide the best of eye care to the people in India and overseas at affordable costs, and the best in the world, I would say, that we can offer to anybody.
So that's a stupendous journey that you have gone through. And what was the most difficult part of this journey? If you could name one out of this entire journey.
I think the most difficult part is to depersonalize or to create the institutional name to be bigger than an individual. And that has been something which I had to consistently work. I, along with the team, have ensured that anybody who's working at Center for Sight should be able to get good quality eye care. And that is something which is very, very important. Right from the beginning, I never wanted to associate my name with the center. I don't want it to be, say, a Ramkumar Eye Center or an XYZ Center, because that in itself becomes a self-limiting step.
Limitation, absolutely.
I do not wish, or I never wished, and I think that was the most difficult part, to put myself into the background, to take away the limelight from an individual and bring it on to Center for Sight, and to be able to establish centers with similar systems, similar operating mechanisms, and similar outcomes across various parts of India. I think that has been the most important, most difficult, I would say, the thing that was there. But I think it came easy. I'm saying that it is difficult, but I think with the team that we have, it did come not that very difficult.
A lot of effort that you have put into it, sir. Let's hear what one of your senior consultants has to say about this. Just a moment, sir.
Dr. Mahipal, I have known for more than 3 decades. Professionally, he has done so well that he is a role model today for young ophthalmologists. I still remember he started his journey in practice from Cure Clinic. Cure Clinic is very small. Very small means waiting area of around 2 or 3 people, and OT sufficient to take only one small table. And from that Cure Clinic, that was, I think, way back in 96. From a clinic to a center to an institute. That is the progress journey of my friend Mahipal. 2 T's have played very important role. One is talent and one is technology. He is always eager to get the latest and the best for his center. And believe me, all CFSians are proud to have him as chairman and at the helm of affairs. CF is slightly different from a lot of other chains of hospitals. He is one of the first person to arrive in CFS and one of the last person to leave, who realizes what we need, and hence we can excel.
That's really inspiring, sir.
Lalit and Dinesh, I think they were the next 2 to come and join Center for Sight, and again, they are rock solid pillars of Center for Sight. Been associated. Both are actually Harsh, Lalit, Dinesh. They're all AIIMSonians. They're MBBS from AIIMS, and we know each other.
The same culture. So you had the same thread of culture with your. It's nice. Sir, your Dwarka Center at CFS is one of the best and probably the biggest eye care center in the country today, especially in North India. And I believe definitely it must have taken a lot of effort to build it. What are your thoughts on it? How special is it to you?
I think Dwarka is a dream fulfilled. That's what I left AIIMS to create. an eye institute which was complete in all respects. Clinically, we were doing well. The only thing I think we were in between, we had DNB and then we left. We wanted to have fellows, which I think there are about 200 applications for this year's fellowship that we have received. Academics, teaching, training, and now we are also doing cutting edge research, the one of its only kind. We are doing a lot of research globally. That's the only center where we are. So I think that was the basis of my leaving AIIMS to create in the private sector an eye institute, which we call proudly as Center for Sight Eye Institute. 90,000 square feet taken in a direct auction from Dwarka. And I mind you, I would say that this dream of mine could not have been fulfilled but for Avnish Bajaj from Matrix Partners. He was rock solid. He said, Doc, he calls me Sirji. If you want to do it, do it. And we kept money away. Actually, he put in 20 crores, I put in 10 crores of my own personal wealth as a side funding just to bid for this property in Dwarka. And I think it took us 2-3 years to build it, and the passion and the kind of love that has gone into build this institution is phenomenal. I think Dr. Alka Sachdev has played a key role in all my projects, and this was one of the projects where again she, even at this age, she toiled so hard to see. Construction industry is most disorganized in India, and getting work done out of them was really phenomenal. And I think she contributed whatever Dwarka is today. Ek baar to, even if you see from outside or you enter, there's a wow factor that comes in, and I think we are proud to have this as our jewel in the crown.
Great, sir. Really, and congratulations. I visited it and it's absolutely very, very impressive.
Yeah, and just to tell you one thing, it was the big elephant in the room. The aborted IPO that I tried, and all the investors would say that you have it's a reasonably high investment project, 30 crores for the land, then building, etc. It's close to an 80 crores. So the investors talk about ROCE, return on capital, return on investment, etc. They said this is not going to work. I said this is going to take Center for Sight into the next big league that is there, and that was my conviction. And today it is my fastest growing center, broken even from day one, without cannibalizing any of our patient base from Safdarjung Enclave or from other centers. And that's what the investors were saying. No, it would cannibalize the rest of the Delhi clinically good as regards research, academics. We have a foundation wing which is for the low cost charitable patients, etc., mobile van. So all the works are there, and it's really distinguished us as a different it's a different league, I would say.
Definitely, sir, definitely. So coming back to your team, like we were mentioning earlier, you literally handpicked your team, which is the pride of CFS today. And true leaders like you don't create followers, they create more leaders. And you have been a magnificent leader yourself, and that must have been an arduous task. So with so many centers across the country, how do you manage leading the team from different parts of the country, across different cultures, successfully over the last so many years with such elan?
Well, I think there are a couple of things. One is give space. You need to give a lot of space to the guys who are great in their profession. Second, two-way communication. You need to be talking to them. You need to be listening as to what they want. You need to look after them as to what are the new things in their super specialization that we want. But ultimately, I think logic prevails where you have to say as to what is the mission statement, what is the vision of the organization, and we have to work hand in hand together. But I think these guys are great. At times, you have to do an emotional detachment. You have to take tough decisions at times where you may have to kill an idea or kill an association that was there because things don't work out. I use a phrase quite often, and that is brain damage. I don't want unnecessary brain damage to happen. If it's not working, so be it. But the mission, the vision, the SOPs, whatever are the way that we have to work, we need to work like that together. But touch wood, with the grace of God, people have been satisfied. They have blossomed, I would say. If I sit down today and think of the great names, the key opinion leaders of ophthalmology that are who are associated with the Center for Sight, it's really makes me proud.
So let's see what they have to say about you. Just a moment.
He's indeed one of the most gifted persons I have ever seen. He is gifted surgically because he can perform such wonderful surgeries. He is a gift of intellect. I have seen him that he is so sharp, he can actually teach the accountants how to do accounts. His ability to take risks is something phenomenal. I think that is what sets him apart from a whole lot of people. He's such a wonderful human being. He gave me my first cataract and I still see him teaching people, and his academics are indeed out of the world. I think he has so many papers. I'm really amazed how he can look after 50 centers and yet he can do so much work.
This is your team, sir.
On a personal level, although he may look very, very strict and difficult to talk to a person, but believe me, he is a very, very kind-hearted soul. He still is an emotional person. He is a family man. A couple of days back, when COVID and all started, he has shifted his OPD and operation days to Sunday. So much adjustment he does for all of us.
That's great camaraderie, sir, between all of you. Long live this association.
Great to work with all of them, I suppose.
So they say manners maketh a man, and it's your qualities that really endear you to everyone. A lot of your colleagues and friends actually swear by your friendship, by your helping nature, and they'd like to share a few things about you. So just a moment.
His scientific abilities are exceptional. His knowledge is superb. This was almost, I would say, about 27 years ago. He was on a deputation from AIMS to USA to study the new coaxial endothelial microscope which had come out. He had just finished his course for, I think, 6 months and then came back to India. I had met him at that time and he told me about this new microscope and that he would like to present it. And he says, can I have a paper? I told him, why don't you have a course? So I gave him a course on it. A week later or 10 days later, he came back to me saying, people have taken objection to the course saying I'm too junior. If you want, you can cancel my course and I'll only take a paper. And I told him, no, you do the course. Just do the course in such a manner that you make me proud. He did the course, even though people complained that he's too young. And he did a magnificent job. After that, it was only all the way up. A man with a heart of gold, a man who's completely dependable, a man with exceptional scientific acumen.
I came in contact with him in the year 1995 when I went for a training from Allahabad. Those days he was doing phacoemulsification and he asked me to do ECC IOLs. Since there was a DOS meeting then, together worked a lot in that conference. I kept on working hard. He's a great visionary, he's a great academician, he's a wonderful surgeon, and he has all the capabilities of a multitasking master. So he has always been very, very successful.
Truly glowing tribute, sir, to you.
Oh, I think they're both great friends of mine, and that's why they are saying that. I don't really deserve these accolades, but both of them have they're gems of people. KJ and Dr. Kegi. I think what I am today and when I became chairman scientific committee, I still remember he came to my house, and my wife we made him eat sarson ka saag and makki ki roti. And you interviewed him. You know, he's from Ludhiana. He was one of the people who really inspired me and actually pushed me to put in my papers for the chairman scientific committee as I was stepping out of AIMS also at that particular time. Both of them are really very, very, very kind-hearted and close friends of mine.
Great, sir. So you have always been in leadership roles, right from your college days. So today, as the dynamic president of the AIOS, how would you describe your thoughts? Like you're the president of one of the largest associations, almost 23,000 ophthalmologists. So how do you feel today?
Well, talking about leadership, I think it has got maybe something to do with my genes. Maybe very few people know, but my grandfather, my Nanaji, was a great leader. He was a freedom fighter, and he was in jail for 14 years. And he came out on parole. Obviously, I was not there when my grandmother died. And he was the third General Secretary of the Shromani Gurudwara Prabandhak Committee, and he has his name right there in the Golden Temple, and he has a statue in Jalandhar city. And I think there were times when people would say that I need to become a politician basis what my grandfather was, and it continued because I was the secretary and president of Students Union of AIIMS. I was the secretary president of Faculty Association, in Delhi Ophthalmological Society, etc. But I think this is the topmost honor and position that I have ever occupied, and that's being the president of All India Ophthalmological Society. Has close to 23,000 members. One great thing about All India Ophthalmology Society is the solid foundations on it, which has been done by the hard work of the generation before us and our earlier presidents and vice presidents and secretaries and all along. One important thing is that AIOS has not become a political society like some of other medical societies have become. Though there is some politics, but that's part and parcel of it. But I think it still stands on solid academic and scientific foundations where the members are eager to learn, and we are as eager to give them a platform to learn, to become leaders, to become pioneers, to have teaching and learning opportunities. It is indeed one thing that I'm trying, even though COVID hit, that we should take care of our members and do advocacy, because healthcare and ophthalmology has been neglected by the government for long. Our voice is not heard in the corridors of power. When decisions are taken, AIOS is not consulted. I think getting the entire lot of ophthalmologists up there is an onerous task that is on my shoulders for this 1 year. And I hope that I come out to the satisfaction of everybody else, the people who elected me to this particular post. I'm really proud and very happy to lead All India Ophthalmological Society, especially in this particular time of COVID. Long live AIOS, and long live the commentary of the members of AIOS, and let us all go together as ophthalmologists and serve the need of removing blindness from India, as also the need for giving quality eye care to each and every one of our citizens.
You've done a great job. So some of your colleagues would like to share what they feel about you. Just a moment, sir.
All India is very happy and should be extremely proud of having a person of his caliber as president of the society.
In DOS, we talk of pre-Mahipal era and post-Mahipal era. He is the president of this prestigious body, AIOS. And right from the day one, his focus has been member-centric. You see, when COVID started, he did a lot of webinars to lay down guidelines. In fact, ours, AIOS, was one of the first ophthalmic societies in the world to lay down COVID guidelines for the benefit of members. And also, you see, from the point of view of rationalization of rates, he has approached, Government of India and ministries. And also, he has spoken to a lot of traders and companies personally. I know that personally, for the benefit of members, so that the EMIs could be deferred. And at his instance, a lot of companies have cooperated also.
So we are really fortunate to have you as our president, especially in such tough COVID times. Really.
I'm doing my little bit that I think I am capable of doing, and I think with the support of all of you, we'll come out of COVID.
Sir, you have always given a lot of importance to education and training. a lot of your students and fellows really adore you, and the educational initiative of CFS, which is iFocus, is extremely popular. So how and when did you conceive this? But before you answer this question, I'd like you to hear this, and then I'll let you answer it.
Since 1990s, when he was a dashing young faculty at RP Center, and I was a very meek junior resident. He was known to empower young ophthalmologists, and I was one such beneficiary. My first IOL implantation was under his guidance, and so was my first review article that was on recent advances in corneal diagnostics. He made me write it up for IGO and mentored me. He was an excellent teacher and an academician, and possibly an equally good entrepreneur that made him establish Center for Sight, which is hugely successful now. It's been my pleasure to work with him at CFS for 7 years now. He has an excellent vibe and extremely incredible positive energy around him that makes it a pleasure to work with him. His dedication to the cause of postgraduate education has resulted in iFocus, which has had a very successful run for several years now and is being currently run online. And I'm very thankful to him for that. I wish him all the very best and loads of happiness. Thank you very much.
Everything he touches turns into pure 6/6. No doubt, no worries how complicated the surgery is. He makes it seem so seamless. It is a visual treat to see Sir operate. And Sir has this quest for perfection. In my early days in fellowship, maybe I was just a month into my fellowship, and I remember I had to tell Sir about his post-op LASIK patient. And I told Sir that cornea is clear and Sir vision is 6/6 part. He just messaged me saying one word, saying, "Why not 6/6?" Still have that screenshot of that chat. That still inspires me. Also is that he manages his time so effortlessly. It's amazing to see how Sir just finishes his OT every day at 10:30 a.m. without fail, no matter how many cases. He does value each and every second. It is lovely to see that how Sir is his perfect ophthalmologist till 6 p.m. every day, 7 days a week, 365 days, and then from 6 p.m. he transforms magically into this majestic entrepreneur that inspires everybody and works on till 10:30, 11 at night every day, and sometimes maybe overnight when he has international calls. Best thing is that Sir gives each of his fellows, his residents, such lovely opportunities. You just have to grab them. And I would say this lifetime is not enough to learn everything from Sir. You need 2 lifetimes. Sir can teach you so much. In a nutshell, you can just say that Mahipal Sir definitely is the alchemist of ophthalmology.
So inspiring. So we'll need one more lifetime to learn from you now.
No. Santosh actually is the fire. He's the person who told me that let us do this postgraduate. I always loved teaching. You would, I don't know, you've done a lot of work. How many people you have? There'll be people who will be telling you stories that I made them do the first IOL stood by them or a cataract.
Yes.
So I love teaching. I love to give back to whatever I have. So there is something that I feel is that if you have to if you have to popularize something, you should not monopolize it. And if you have to actually spread the light of enlightenment, of education, you need to share it with people, because there's just small lifetime that you have.
Very large-hearted quality. Great, sir. Thank you so much, sir. I wish I was your student too. So in all your endeavors and throughout your journey, standing behind you like a rock has been Dr. Alka Sachdev ma'am. How would you describe the role of Dr. Alka Sachdev ma'am in your success as an individual and also for CFS?
Difficult to describe the role. I think she's been my life partner, my soulmate. I think it'll be difficult to fathom being where I am without her support. So if I go back, actually we missed out, you started from school and we went on to All India Institute of Medical Sciences, but in between there was this one golden year that was from 75 to 76, which was my pre-medical in Hindu College. That's where we met. we were class fellows there, and then I went on to AIIMS and she went on to Lady Hardinge Medical College. And I would say that we spent, again, some people know, some people don't know, we spent 35 days on a strike outside the then Health Minister, Mr. Raj Narayan's house, which is now the PMO, actually, Prime Minister's house there, in a tent. And I being the General Secretary of Delhi Medical Students Association, was going there every day, and they used to come, and I think that's where the things developed. But over that, I think she's been constantly never asked me questions as to why I wanted to do that. My family was dead against my leaving All India Institute of Medical Sciences, and she was also dead against. Mind you, she was also dead against my taking ophthalmology. Because I'll tell you why. Because in Lady Hardinge Medical College at that time, ophthalmology was reasonably rudimentary, and all that she was doing as an intern, or the interns used to do, is they used to petto the coffee for the seniors and maybe have some patients referred for headache to get a retraction done. So they didn't have a terrific ophthalmology department, and she said that you are giving ophthalmology as a choice. But I think, she stood rock solid by me. When I started practice, again, she was against. But once I took a decision, I think she's been totally with me, all my projects, everything. I think, again, operations, I would say, is the more difficult part. And she left her job as a CGHS, and she would have been maybe an ADG or a DG or something like that. But she left her job in early 2005 because I was not able to manage alone. And I used to be tearing my hair apart because of everyday operational problems. Those kind of things. So I think she took the mantle, the role of the tough things, that is the operations, getting in operational efficiency, as also getting in the projects going. She has her artistic sense and her sense of doing things better. So I think overall, and the most important part is that I think she brought up the children with great dedication and devotion. She had a regular job from about 7:30 to 1:30 or 8 to 2, and when the children used to go to school, she would go to her job and she would come back, and then all the homeworks and making them grow and learn and things like that. She's really a homemaker also at that particular point of view. And despite the difficult situations that you face in operations and projects, she has stood by. And even at this age, she has helped make this Dwarka project. So I think I owe it a lot, and she's the strength behind me.
Great. And let's hear what some of your colleagues have to say about this.
Mahipal is blessed with a lovely family. Got married to his childhood sweetheart Alka. Soon after that, MBBS, it was almost a child marriage. Blessed with two lovely daughters, one of whom has become my daughter today.
Alka, you've been a great pillar of strength for Mahipal, along with your two talented daughters, Gitansha and Ritika, who in their own rights are highly accomplished ophthalmologists. And my best wishes to all of you.
Sir, you're a workaholic. How did your family react to this? And did they wish something to be changed in you? Let's hear it from Dr. Alka ma'am herself. Just a moment. And then I would ask you to answer.
Did she have a choice?
Actually, Mahipal and I are very different individuals with very different traits. Mahipal has always had high goals, while I had my little dreams. He has great leadership qualities and likes to be on the forefront. I, on my part, am happy and content to be his support system. Mahipal is a type A personality, and he is usually in the fifth gear. To put simply, he's the accelerator in our relation, whereas I am the brake. But like they say, you need a good braking system to be a confident accelerator. I think our traits complement each other, and I'm happy the way it is. And I don't think I want to change anything about it. But if there's one thing I would like to change, what would that be? Well, I think he's a little low on patience when it comes to executing things. If he thinks of something today, it should have been executed yesterday. We often used to joke about it, if Maipal was to ask God for some patience, how would he go? He would go like, God, give me patience, but give it fast. Well, his being a workaholic never bothered me, but after I joined him, I felt that despite giving my best, I would often fall short of his expectations, and that bothered the head out of me. One day I was just discussing it with one of his common friends, and what he told me was, "Ma'am, you are not the one at fault. Sir's yardstick is longer than normal." In fact, what he said, and his words still resonate in my ears, he said, "Sir ka gaz, sawa gaz ka hai." And that's the day I found my peace.
That's really amazing, sir. Hats off to you, ma'am, and thank you so much for your inputs. Sir, they say, would you want to say something to that?
I think I didn't give them any choice. That's about it. So I think they accept that, and yes, I wish I continue to be in the fifth gear. That's how I am.
Yes, sir.
If I don't have anything to do, I become very restless. क्या करें मतलब खाली खाली सा लगता है. So that's I think work is my passion, and if you consider work as your passion, it's like you're playing.
Right. Sir, we were speaking about your daughters, and they say children learn more from what you are rather than what you teach them. So with respect to your daughters, what was your idea of an ideal work-life balance? And you have brilliant daughters who have joined your profession. So how difficult was it to give them time?
So actually, I've again been lucky. God has been kind to me. There's a career clock and there's a biological clock. And as Ram said, it was like a child marriage. So actually, I was the first in my class to get married. I had barely given my final MBBS exam. My result was out. My wife Stalka's result was still not out. And within maybe a year of marriage, Ritika was born, and then Gitansha in '86. So actually, during the formative years of my children, more so Ritika, I was still in All India Institute of Medical Sciences, though I was doing a lot of stuff there. And as I told you, the work-life balance was pretty good in the sense that we had a joint family. We still are in a joint family. And the grandparents of the children were really taking care of my daughters. My wife would come back from the dispensary. So there were two kids of my elder brother, a son and a daughter, and they were foursome, and they were really happy with each other. And we used to take small breaks and vacations. My children have had great times. They've been to when they were kids to Disneyland. They actually picked up pieces of the Berlin Wall when the Berlin Wall was broken in Singapore, Australia. So we did bind together, and we did vacations. We used to play badminton, maybe carom and things like that. And I think they've grown up pretty happy in a joint family. And I think the career clock and the biologic clock fitted pretty well, because by the time I left, they had Ritika was about 15, 16 and Gitansha about 10, 11. So I think that's when I really got into the overactive mode of practice and other things. So
let's see what your daughter has to say about this.
Great daughter, was blessed to have them.
When people describe my father, they use terms like a clinician par excellence, an entrepreneur, or even a legend in ophthalmology. But when I think of him, the words that come to mind are an exceedingly loving and doting father. I remember in my childhood, even though he had an extremely busy private practice, he was always there to hear me out. And till date, there's not a single thing that I've asked of him that he's not done to completion. He spoils me like silly, but at the same time, he's taught me how to work hard and to stay grounded. I remember more than a decade ago, once in my immaturity, I asked him why he doesn't replace this large zircon that he had in his engagement ring with a real diamond so it didn't look as fake. He just looked at me and said, "This reminds me where I came from, and you should remember that as well." So I don't think I have enough words to describe how much you mean to me, Dad, and I'm truly lucky and blessed to have you as my father.
Really heartwarming, sir. Really touched my heart very deeply.
He's really come out as a great surgeon today. I am proud of him. Again, hardworking, doing a lot of work for the Indian Journal of Ophthalmology, and I think she's a great, great daughter and a great mom, I would say. Oh my
God
God.
bless. God bless. So we have seen such different facets of your personality. One of your colleagues would like to share his views on this. Just a moment.
Mahipal Singh Sachdev is not only a great surgeon but also a great businessman. But the best part about him is he's a great friend. I've been associated with Mahipal for so many years, and the bonding which we have is so good. His daughters are like my daughters, and he dotes on his daughters. He dotes on his family, and the best part about him is he can sit on a table with top investors discussing private equity, discussing expansion of Center for Sight. At the same time, you just have to put him in an operating theater, and I think I rate him easily as one of the top 10 surgeons in the world. You put him in his house and he's a great family man.
That's amazing, sir.
Well, Amar took care of Gitansha when she was doing her MBBS at Ramachandra. He was his local guardian, or I would say the local dad there in Chennai.
Okay.
Great
Sir,
job.
throughout your life, sir, suppose you were given a chance to relive your life and do everything all over again, would you do anything differently?
No.
Great.
Uh,
I think it's more of a perfect life. So there's
I think
nothing you would like to change it.
God has been very kind, and I'm happy, contented.
Right, sir. So life has been so hectic for you. We would like to know a little secret. How do you pack 48 hours in a day? So how's your typical working day in your schedule pre-COVID? How's your typical working day?
Well, typically I get up around 6 in the morning, 6:15, morning cup of tea, and then I read 4 newspapers, and those newspapers are read on while I'm cycling on a stationary bike. So I think that's my exercise that I have, and then switch over to my emails and messages and things like that, and get ready. And normally I'm at work at about 8:30. 8:15, 8:30, depending, as Raghav was saying, I have kind of a hard stop between 10:30 to 11 to finish my OR, which I do every day. And then thereon, I think OPD, and then meetings in between, problem solving, strategy, getting people, investors, all those things come. So typically I go back, my going back is not fixed, but it can be anywhere from 7:38 to 9:30, 10, and my wife would keep calling me when I'm coming home and things like that. But and then again I have my dinner, and again I have to check my whatever, because if I don't reply to my mails, at times people think I am rude, but I do give one-liners as answers without a dear so and so and thanks very much, etc. But I wish to finish my work every day, and otherwise things get backlogged. So using your time effectively is something which is very, very important. You have to get rid of non-essential things that are there. For example, if doing a refraction, etc. If an optometrist can do it better, or somebody else can see a retina better. So you need to balance out what is more important and what requires more.
Prioritize.
Yeah, so you have to prioritize and you have to do that. And I think it will amaze anybody if you actually get down. One person that amazes me is also Dr. Thing. For his surgeries, the number of surgery, he talks about having two phaco machines, one with the phaco handpiece and the other with the IA, so that he doesn't have to take out the tubing and put it. So he says that it saves me about 15 seconds. So I think your work, there has to be a mindset to be able to finish your work in the given time. And I think that's one thing I hate. If people do not stick to their time. So typically if a fellow or if there's a meeting and people don't come, there are some people who are chronic latecomers. I value time for everybody. Your time is valuable as also the time of the other person is valuable.
So true, sir. And you're a perfect multitasker, looking at all this. Great, sir. And then in so much of stress, how do you unwind? What is your way of beating the stress?
Well, I told you I enjoy what I'm doing. So I think, yes, there is stress, but there isn't stress also.
It doesn't stress you at all, yeah. Because you love what you do, is it?
Regarding unwinding, as others have said, I am a family man. I have a lot of friends and I share jokes with them, maybe share a drink with them and do that. But we take in between short vacations. And that's what 3 days, 4 days vacation, 5 days. Then the longest vacation I took was just pre-COVID when I went for a cruise. But otherwise, my vacations are short and they kind of recharge you. And I remember one of the great unwinding moments, which me and my wife, we had gone to Chiang Mai and we were on top of an elephant going down a river. And we had the music of Jagjit Singh, the ghazals, and it was in a forest. So I think that was really, really unwinding. Going to Goa is again something very pleasurable for me. Eating out, those kind of things. So I think there are enough avenues to unwind.
Someone close to you would like to also share some memories and say something.
The first time I ran into him was at the steps of RP Center. When as a senior, I told him to go ahead and pick up a swab for culture sensitivity. He was a little taken aback as to who is this Madrasi upstart who was telling me, the ex-president of Resident Doctor Association of All India Institute of Medical Sciences, to go ahead and do an NRL. The next image of him, which is vivid in my memories, is when he was taking Delhi Ophthalmic Society as its secretary to 5-star ambience and was working extremely hard for the same. He always had an excellent taste for good things in life. Apart from the leadership qualities that he has, whether it's a nice holiday, a good dinner, a friendly drink with a friend, he's always up for it. I think his dictum in life has always been to work very hard and party harder. That maybe makes Maipal the wholesome man that we all recognize.
That's really great.
I think he took the words out of me. I work hard but party harder, yes.
Yes. So before we move on to the rapid fire round, just a few more questions. Like, you are a very smart and experienced entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
What has been your experience with private equity, sir?
Well, I think trust and transparency is something which embodies Centrophysite, and if you are having the trust of the private equity and you are transparent and you tell them everything, see, they will never rock a boat. If you are doing hard work, they realize that you are putting your life and passion into the development of the company or into the business. They will always be supportive. And my experience with Avnish Bajaj from Matrix Partner and now Mahindra Partners has been exceptional. I think that's a bogey in people's mind that private equity can cause problems. I got Avnish Bajaj at an exit. I think they bring a lot of talent. Money can come from any private equity. That's not an issue, but the right private equity guy, like I told you, Avnish was so supportive about my Dwarka project. If it wasn't for him, I would not have got this Dwarka project. He's from IIT, he's from Harvard Business School. He started Bazi.com, I don't know, and then sold it to eBay. So their thought process is way ahead, and that's what I learned in US. Think big, dream big, and increase the canvas where you're working. They actually bring a lot of things on the table, which you cannot. So I think my experience has been pretty good with the private equity so far. And I'm not afraid of going in and taking another round of private equity investment if required.
So knowing your love for enterprise, what's your next milestone then?
IPO.
Great, sir. And best wishes.
So that is something that I don't like to be unsuccessful. And that's something which I have not been able to achieve for whatever were the circumstances of demonetization and things like that. But that's an ambition unfulfilled just now. So I hope God will give me the strength.
Definitely, sir. Definitely. So you were speaking of Mr. Avnish Bajaj. Let's see what he has to say for you. Just a moment, sir.
You have to. Great.
Yes.
Until I met Dr. Mahipal, I was known as the smart Sardar in my group. And then I met probably the smartest Sardarji I've ever met, which is Dr. Mahipal Singh Sachdev. I don't know the exact story, but I think he got into IIT without even studying. It's been an absolute pleasure and privilege getting to know Dr. Mahipal. For me, the association is very personal, and he knows this, that once I invested in Center for Sight, my own investing luck seems to have turned for the better. So thank you. Most importantly, other than being very smart and well known in his field and very technically excellent, Dr. Mahipal is an outstanding human being.
Thank you so much, sir. And I think lots to learn from you from all angles, not only just ophthalmology, but a lot of finance also. So we'll now move on to the rapid fire round, sir.
Oh, okay.
And so this is a round which will have quick questions and answers, and I would request you to please answer at whatever is the first thought that comes to your mind.
Extensions are allowed?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Shall we begin?
Yeah. Sure.
So you are an inspiration to so many. Who has been your role model, your idol?
Well, I'd like to split it into a couple of parts. First of all, as an ophthalmologist, I would say Dwight Kavanagh, and also Professor Madan Mohan. As an entrepreneur in healthcare, Dr. Pratap C. Reddy, and as somebody who is compassionate and really great and a great surgeon, my mother. So I think these have been my role models.
Nice. So the first thing that comes to your mind when I say the following.
Mm-hmm.
One, CFS. One word.
The best.
Family.
Family. One word means all of us together. I would say it's been loving, caring.
Friends.
Jaan hai.
Yeah. And destination.
Sorry?
Destination.
Destination. Well, I'll say something which you may not. Destination for everybody is the end. So that's the ultimate destination for everybody, and I think we have this window to live. So let us live life king size with fullest.
Name will live longer. So what was the happiest moment? Your first center, your latest center, or the happiness went on increasing directly proportional to the number of centers?
Oh, if you're talking about the centers, I think the happiest moment was when my parents, despite not being too well, stepped into the Dwarka facility and blessed me.
So, if you were born as a woman, do you think CFS would still be standing today, with due respect to both the genders?
Okay. If I was born a woman in the year 1958 when I was born, the answer will be maybe not. If I was born a woman in the year 2020, the answer would be maybe yes. So that's what I will say. There has been a lot of change in between.
And if you were born in 1970?
1970. Okay, then I'll have to ask the interviewer, Dr. Anaga, because I think you were born in 1970. I suppose that's why you have picked up 1970. What don't with me? So you will have to tell me whether there will be a CFS or not.
Okay, next question.
Normally people tell their age, so by default you told your age, I suppose.
That's
Right?
okay. So next question, why is there only one Dr. Mahipal Sachdev?
DNA sequence. That's again a phrase that I say कि इसका DNA मेरे से मिलता नहीं है या ये DNA तो that's something. That's my amino acid sequence, I would say.
Okay. Which role?
You want to have clones of me?
We would love to.
Okay.
So which role do you enjoy the most? Being a clinician, being an entrepreneur, or President AIOS?
Being a clinician. I think that's my passion wherever I am, whether I'm a president AIOS, because I'm a clinician, which people recognize. Entrepreneur I am because I had the clinical skills and the ability to give results. That's why people invested in me and in our dream of Central Step. Clinician is my first love.
Great. What would Dr. Mahipal Sachdev sir be doing 10 years from now?
Working.
Making your centers?
I'll just tell you one thing. No, I have something up my thought process. I need to kind of work slightly off from what I'm doing just now. But yes, I think one thing is that I've been very, very constant. And that constancy has come that for the last 7-8 years, I have been telling everybody that I'm going to hang my boots in the next 5 years. And these 5 years are not.
5 years is always next 5 years.
I'll hang my boots after 5 years. So I think today also I'll say I'll hang my boots after 5 years.
Great. So now that we are on this question, very briefly, where do you think ophthalmology would be at that point of time, and what would be the role of CFS?
Well, I think the most important thing for ophthalmology that is happening is the coming in of technology. I think artificial intelligence is going to come in, robotics are going to come in, things are going to become more and more towards better outcomes. And ophthalmology is something that is very, very increased longevity. Things are going to change. Ophthalmology is going to be right there as it is in the developed countries, even in India, it's going to be right there. And I think CFS has to think out of the box. We have to really keep, I always tell people that being in ophthalmology or anything else in life, it's like being on a treadmill. And you have to keep running to be even at that place. So I think we should not be out on speed and we should be thinking out of the box. We have to innovate. That is the most important thing. And I think CFS should be able to continue to do that. And I think we should be one of the torchbearers of ophthalmology in India and this part of the world.
More strength to you, sir, and to CFS. So next question, what is the best compliment you've ever received?
I just got it from Abneesh. A sir better than him.
One thing that's closest to your heart?
One thing that is closest to my heart. My family, I would say, and listening to soulful music.
Great, sir. You achieved so much in life. Is there anything that you regret?
That will be very, very unkind of me and selfish of me to not be thankful to God for having given me so much. I think it's more than I had aspired ever to have it. I'll just tell you, I don't know if you have time. When I was leaving All India Institute of Medical Sciences, I did do a modeling as to what would I be wanting to achieve. And I had put it that end of 2 years of my practice, I should be doing 30 cataracts a month. End of 2 years. First month, I did 36 cataracts. So I'll be.
Yeah.
I think I'm absolutely satisfied where I got. It's beyond my comprehension. Another thing I remember a friend of mine, JP Singh, who was head of Washington, he asked me one day sitting, what do you think you want as a business? Where would you want? I said, I'll be top of the world if the valuation of Centrifacide reaches 50 crores. I'm totally satisfied where I am. No regrets.
Okay, sir. Next question. Who would you want to be reborn as?
Maipal.
Great. I think everybody who listens to this would be wanting to be reborn as you.
I just lived my life the way it came to me, played it by the day and the hour.
What do you consider as the highest moment in your life?
I think one of the highest moments which you already asked was my mother and father stepping into Centrifacide Dwarka on its completion and blessing me. Two other highs, I would say, one was my name coming on the Wall of Fame of Modern School, because that's always a proud moment when your alma mater, where you have done your schooling, recognizes you. And obviously the Padma Shri that I got in year 2007.
Okay, so out of all this, what would you like people to remember about you?
A compassionate surgeon and a human being with a kind heart, with devotion and dedication to work.
One thing you wish you could change about yourself?
Thing I wish I could change about myself. Lots of them, I suppose. One is what my wife said was patience. That is it. I think what is I think maybe being more true to what the expectations are. Maybe that is something. But I think that's the fire in me, that I always set goals which are higher than myself. So I think I'm impatient because my goals are higher than maybe at times which I can, but that's it.
And the last question, something that you enjoy doing and wish you had more time for?
Spending time with my friends, listening to ghazals, enjoying dancing it out, and just laughing it out, having jokes and fun, etc. And
Great.
That's it. Enjoying the sea.
Thank you so much, sir. You've really been truly a role model for all of us, and I've really enjoyed speaking to you and all this conversation over the last hour. Before we sign off, sir, what would you like to give as a message to all of us who look up to you, especially the younger generation?
Well, I'll wish to just thank you. It was a pleasure interacting with you. I really don't know whether I've been able to put some passion into the people who might be listening to this. But to the young achievers or the young doctors or ophthalmologists, I'll just say, follow your heart. Be in the profession that you love. If you don't love ophthalmology, get out of it. So whatever is the profession or the work that you are doing, you have to throw yourself completely into it. And I think if you are to stay ahead of others, you need to think out of the box and you have to keep on learning constantly. And as I said, maybe during the earlier part, you need to get out of your comfort zone to walk that extra mile throughout your life. I think that's something very, very important. If you are comfortable, you don't put yourself to discomfort, you're not going to achieve anything. And one other thing which in India especially is there, if you rise faster, you do tend to have people staring at you and feeling, why is this guy doing? So that's not the case in developed countries. That's a big difference that I found. So I think you need to stop bothering about what others say, because कुछ तो लोग कहेंगे, लोगों का काम है कहना. आपके मन में या whatever you have that you are determined to do, you should go all out with full energy to get onto that manzil that you have in your mind. And just to sum it up, I'll just say कि पंखों से क्या होता है, उड़ान तो हौसलों से होती है.
क्या बात है.
और दूसरा, यकीन अपनी हाथ की लकीरों पे नहीं करना, पर अपने हाथ से खींची गई लकीरों पे यकीन करना.
क्या बात है.
So,
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
pleasure.
Really pearls of wisdom, sir. Thank you so much, sir. It was truly a pleasure speaking to you today, and thank you from the bottom of my heart for sparing your valuable time in your hectic schedule and sharing with us parts of your life.
My pleasure, and I am blessed that you do more of these interviews with people who need to be interviewed rather than me.
I'd also like to thank everyone who gave their wonderful inputs and shared their wonderful memories today. Dr. Alka Sachdev ma'am, Professor Madan Mohan sir, Professor Atul Kumar sir, Professor Dr. K.K. Mehta sir, Dr. Ramurthy sir, Dr. Amar Agarwal sir, Dr. Lalit Verma, Dr. Harsh Kumar, Dr. Kamaljeet Singh, Dr. Santosh Unawar, Dr. Arvind Lal sir, Dr. Majaz, Dr. Rajesh Agarwal, Dr. Kapil Dhingra, Mr. Avnish Bajaj, Mr. Manu Mehta, Dr. Ritika, Dr. Gitansha, and Dr. Raghav Malik. Thank you everyone for being there and helping me, getting all your inputs. It was really so wonderful to know so many beautiful things about sir. Also like to thank FDC Pixel for their technical support and my team at Anila Hospital for helping me put all of this together. I've truly enjoyed every moment and I hope you enjoyed it too. And I'm sure all our viewers also would enjoy it and be as inspired as I have been today after listening to your wonderful journey. Best wishes to you, sir, to your family and to CFS with good health, happiness, and lots of success in the future. And definitely, I want your life and that your work should be on the ascent. Pray to God, आपका जीवन और कार्य हमेशा चढ़ती कला पे रहे, sir. And your life be in abundance with happiness and prosperity and with the love of your family, your friends, and your near and dear ones. We have learned tremendously, sir, from all your thoughts and pearls of wisdom, and you have taught us that challenges are what make life interesting, but overcoming them is what makes life meaningful. So you're one of God's chosen ones, and I feel these lines fit you perfectly. खुद को कर बुलंद इतना कि हर तकदीर से पहले खुदा बंदे से खुद पूछे बता तेरी रज़ा क्या है. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, and thank you to all our dear viewers for all the love and encouragement that you all have given me over the last few months. During the course of this interview, I have enjoyed doing these interviews and I've learned a lot. I've gained immensely in strength and feel more blessed and enriched and overwhelmed by all your love. And as we come to an end of this series, I would like to express my deepest gratitude and conclude by dedicating a couplet from one of my poems to you, sir, to all the other personalities that I've interacted with, and to our amazing viewers. कर्म की हर जोत यूं रोशन सदा करती रहे, कर्म की हर जोत यूं रोशन सदा करती रहे, प्रेरणा बनकर दिलों में लौ सदा जलती रहे. God bless you all. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Great job. I think you have done a wonderful job with your interviews, and God bless.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, everyone, and goodbye.